People might assume that ADHD and travel can only be a chaotic combination, but that's not true, and it definitely gets better with practice. Yes, there are specific challenges, and I'll get into those, as well as some specific strategies that I use and recommend. This is just my opinion, but I think the reason why people with ADHD love travel so much is the novelty factor. So it's seeking out what's new and exciting. And if you think about it, when you're traveling, assuming you haven't been there before, you're suddenly immersed in everything that's new. So new scenery, new food, new sights, sounds, smells, new music, new languages. It's just really cool to experience a different vibe. Before I knew I had ADHD, I was moving around a lot. Well, I'm still moving around a lot, but before that would look like me moving states, moving country. I also moved addresses a lot. And when I couldn't afford to travel or couldn't afford to move, I would just rearrange my bedroom furniture. So now I know that is a dopamine-seeking behavior for me. In the travel planning phase, I think there's two main ADHD traits that make themselves pretty apparent. One is around hyperfocus if you're doing the research. If you're not into doing research, then it can be things like decision paralysis, or it can be both. If you were super interested in a place, you might get really into the research, and so you're looking at Google Maps and you're understanding the layout of the town and understanding the key sites and activities. Before you know it, you've gotten into the geography of the town before you've even set foot in it. It's really awesome to gain all of that knowledge up front as much as you can before you get there, because then you're not wasting your precious travel time figuring out things on the fly. Yeah, the other one is decision paralysis or decision fatigue. Let's say you have a couple options in your mind. You can't decide which one to go to, or maybe you settled on a place, but now it's a matter of figuring out, when do I want to go? How much do I want to spend? Who am I going to be going with? How do I get there? All that kind of stuff. And if you tend towards perfectionism, then decision paralysis can be worse. I suggest that you have a plan A, and that can be in your head, but it's even better if it's written down. And plan A is your ideal trip. This is the things that you do, the places you eat, whatever's important to you. Then prioritize that, and the top half of the prioritized list, that's your plan B. So if for whatever reason you've run out of time or you just need to slow down, which I recommend you do, then look at plan B. And that way you don't feel like you're losing out by not doing everything, but you've been able to do the things that you care the most about. If you find yourself getting stuck with making decisions and deadlines work for you, give yourself deadlines. I mean, you could give yourself a deadline to book the flights and another deadline to book the accommodation, that type of thing. I actually strongly recommend you book any key activities or excursions up front because, well, first of all, they can sell out. And second of all, it's actually a good idea to space these key activities out in your calendar. They become anchors and you can plan rest days around them and some downtime. And then anything else that you want to do can kind of slot in around that. I think it can be really tiring to be like winging it every day. During travel, the ADHD traits that become most apparent are executive dysfunction, impulsivity, poor time management, dyscalculia, if you have that, and overstimulation. There's a lot we could say about executive dysfunction during travel. As a reminder, people with executive dysfunction and/or ADHD commonly lack the ability to handle frustration, start and finish tasks, recall and follow multi-step directions, stay on track, self-monitor, and balance tasks. My example of not finishing tasks is when I was younger, I would buy postcards to send to friends and family, and I would take the time to write a message, address it, and then nothing. It was like almost too much effort to figure out where the post office is, make sure it's open, and then be nearby when it is open. So 9 times out of 10, I never got stamps, and yeah, I had to hand deliver the postcards when I saw these people, sometimes years and years later. Being impulsive in travel can sometimes go hand in hand because you're making decisions on the fly a lot of times. And that can look like staying out later than you intended or going off in a different place you think, oh, this sounds cool. And there are also some people with ADHD that are perfectly happy to show up in a destination without having planned anything. And that's fine. It's just be aware there could be some additional stress around that if you can't find what you're looking for or you find out like maybe there's no accommodation left that night, just be aware of when your impulsivity is rearing up. And I would also say be very, very aware of your surroundings and who you're with. Keep an eye on the time. I know it's hard, but the last thing you want is to not be able to get back to your accommodation. Furthermore, I would recommend keeping an eye on the weather and the time of day. I've actually been locked in a state park before because I lost track of time. It wasn't until the sun was almost set that I was like, oh no. Thankfully, was able to climb through a fence and flag down the ranger, but I mean, that could have been really annoying to have to sleep in my car. I would have missed work the next day, etc. So it is also related to time management. Let's say let's go back to the museum example. You found this really cool exhibit, get really like immersed in it, and suddenly you realize that you're supposed to be somewhere else, or you're meeting someone. Or you tell yourself, it only takes an hour and a half for me to get up, shower, get dressed, grab breakfast, and check out of this hotel by 11 a.m. But in actuality, it's more like 2.5 hours. And before you know it, you're getting threatened with a late checkout fee. So what I do is I set myself a 10-minute warning alarm, and then I have like a 1-hour warning alarm. And I just try to work backwards from that, giving myself a lot of extra time. If there's a window for breakfast, I put that in as well. And yeah, just double check I have wake up time. Another thing you can try is if you're traveling with someone else, assuming they also don't have time blindness, is you can ask them to help you out. When it comes to transportation and travel, I would always recommend adding an extra time. If you've got to walk from point A to point B, allow time for maybe you forget something, or you make a wrong turn, or someone asks you for directions. If you're planning to meet someone somewhere and it involves like transit or transportation, also building an extra time is really good. You just never know when there'll be some kind of halt to the traffic, or buses and trains can be canceled without any warning. And they don't always give a reason either. But hopefully you're on vacation and you don't have to adhere to any schedules. Dyscalculia is one that has come up for me recently. I've always had struggles with math and numbers, and also remembering how to pronounce things correctly. So hi, Lisa from the future here. I actually re-recorded this video maybe 4 or 5 times, and in the final take, I must have been so tired I reverted back to the wrong pronunciation. So it's Dyscalculia, and from here on I'm going to edit in the correct pronunciation, okay? Dyscalculia. And for me, that looked like things around money and telling time. Travel related is looking at the times of all the trains on the board up ahead, or looking at a clock and seeing 1,400 hours, but thinking in my head it's 4 p.m., but that's not, it's 2 p.m. Or things like supermarket prices, menu prices, currency exchange. That's a hard one for me, really, it is. Also, if you're not used to it, the dates can be written down differently depending on where you are in the world. Time zones, paying in cash, like if it's like pulling out the right bill and making sure you get the right amount of change back. Anyway, I did recently take a couple tests with the Dyscalculia, and it does seem like I have moderate, what do they call it? Moderate Dyscalculia characteristics. Just a few more coping strategies. This is not an exhaustive list because I want to keep this to a manageable length. In a recent video, I mentioned noise-canceling headphones to reduce the noise overstimulation, but also I recommend traveling with hat and sunglasses. I'm sure you'll already do this, but for me, when it's hot, keeping the sun out of my eyes is amazing. Also keeps my hair from flying around my face, which I hate. And in the wintertime, keeping my ears warm and also keeping the hair from flying around my face. So good. I also have several pairs of sunglasses. These are my everyday ones, but they're a single vision lens in them. And I have these, which are very focal, and they're pretty knackered, and they're not really the best shape, but they're too expensive to just discard. I also just have some plain plastic ones as a backup, because you never know. I also recommend using apps to help you manage your travel better. So there's apps for the airlines, there's apps for trains, there's also apps for currency conversion, which are really helpful. Yeah, and you actually might even consider sharing your location if you're somewhere you're just a little bit unsure. Sharing your location with someone who knows where you are is actually not a bad idea. I recently was on a walk by myself, and I saw a trail I wanted to go up, and it was steep, and I could see the weeds were really, really high, and I just thought, wow, if I slip and fall, this could be bad, but I just shared my location. It expired after 1 hour, and it's just that extra peace of mind. If you're prone to losing things, it's unlikely it's going to get better because you're traveling. So do what you can to secure your items, put items in zipped pockets. I have this insurance for my keys where it's like a keychain and it has a phone number on it and it mentions there's a reward. So if my keys are ever lost, somebody can phone the number and they get the reward, and it actually worked. The last one is routines. Routines can really help, especially if you rely on a routine at home. I'm not suggesting you keep the same routine that you do at home because it just may not be relevant. You'll be doing different activities most likely. However, having a routine means there's sort of less to figure out each day. And I'm really super guilty of not sticking to routines. But what I would say is make the routine work for you. For me, if it's really hot, like it is right now, I'll get up in the morning and go outside before it gets too hot, and then maybe go out again in the evening. But when it's colder, I won't go outside until it's like the peak of the day and the most warmth available. Thank you for watching this far. I super appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Tell us how you cope with travel with your ADHD, and I'd love to know if you have any other specific struggles or anything else you'd like to know about. Bye for now.